Stage 4 breast cancer that has moved now to the other parts of the body. The cancer I have, which is aggressive.
Thrill seekers, get ready for something exciting. A profile on Lizzy Musi, a major figure in the drag racing world, and her life story. She has been a mainstay on the Street Outlaws racing circuit for a long time now, thrilling audiences with record-breaking performances and jaw-dropping tricks. Lizzy is now at a pivotal time in her life, and it seems like her career may be coming to a sudden end. Then let's go right in. Because she comes from a long line of adrenaline seekers, Lizzy's participation in drag racing is anything from accidental. She abandoned her high school days and dove headfirst into her true calling, becoming a phenomenon on the tracks and an inspiration to aspiring women everywhere. Pat Musi was a very enthusiastic track fan in the 1970s, so Lizzy Musi had a head start when she was born into the Musi family. Elizabeth Musi, Lizzy's mother, is a former Swedish auto racer. Although Pat did not come from the same family as Lizzy, he is nonetheless driven by his passion for the music. Pat had lent a hand to his elderly guy by carrying the lumber he needed for his restaurant construction business. However, unseen to the public eye, he was devoting himself to a cause that really touched him. By reviewing the comments he has given on his youth, we learned that he began his professional drag racing career when he was a teenager. A lot of thrill seekers got together to see these spectacular moments since it spoke of strong wants that turned into something lovely. It is puzzling that Lizzy, at the tender age of 16, felt the need to launch her own profession. Like her father before her, Lizzy spent hours alone gazing in awe at the fire-breathing machines while other children played with dolls or toy vehicles. Although he was first disinterested in his son's passion for racing, Pat's father eventually became deeply engaged and was Pat's biggest fan throughout his career. As he reflects on those times, Pat clearly recognizes the impact his father had on his professional journey. In his desire to see his kid achieve success on the tracks, this guy was prepared to learn and learn again. Pat has been an influential figure in Lizzy Musi's life and career, so all that support has not been in vain, assisting her with her training and equipping her with the tools she needs to dominate the racetrack. There was a moment when this contribution prevented a tragic accident involving Lizzy's vehicle, which would have been catastrophic had its integrity been compromised in any kind. When Pat was younger, he raced dragsters with legends like Jenkins and Nicholson, and he had a great career. His current endeavors center on his long-running firm, Musi Racing Engines, which he founded in 1969. They are now a family company, and Lizzy worked there for a while, assisting her father in creating the revolutionary machinery that has propelled them to the forefront of their field. Pat has previously acknowledged that he almost abandoned the company in favor of his racing days. But in 2020, the company marked 50 years in existence, and they're still going strong. Lizzy's career. When Lizzy was 16 years old in 1999, she formally entered the racing profession. From that point until 2007, she focused on her career in junior drag racing. Some may have thought Lizzy had great potential back then. After a few years, she began to make movements that rocked recordings and establish her own identity in the tracks, so maybe some of those people were right. Since every member of Lizzy's family is active in the racing world, her family ties undoubtedly played a significant role in her success. Patricia Musi, Lizzy's sister, is also a racing car driver. However, she may have been overshadowed by her famous parents' accomplishments. When Lizzy was a teenager, she was already gaining knowledge from one of the finest on the track, not only observing. She helped out around the track, but she was also involved with the family company. Pat Musi Racing Engines, her dad's famous engine-building firm, was her playground, not a jungle gym. There was never any doubt that Lizzy was no spoiled brat riding on her family's coattails. Scrubbing filthy tools and picking up metal shavings were her first moves as she began at the bottom. She might have skipped high school and gotten straight into college like her friends, but she was determined to achieve her goals at whatever cost. Working hard paid off for Lizzy's dad since he was a champion himself. She inherited his thorough familiarity with the many moving parts and systems that combined to make a drag vehicle formidable. Racing at high speeds wasn't the only goal. Deciphering the machine's inner workings was paramount. Beyond that, Pat did acknowledge in an interview that having other enterprises at one's side was always helpful while drag racing. So long as you don't see the tracks as a method to make ends meet, you may enjoy the excitement of the game and discover new ways to improve your expertise. Interesting fact, Trisha and Lizzy are both named after their parents. The feminine form of Trisha's father's name is Lizzy, and Lizzy's mother's name is Trisha. Keeping the vitality in the family is something to talk about. Both sisters had jinxed it by being romantically engaged with racers, as we shall see later in this film while discussing Lizzy Musi's personal life. I will now return to Lizzy's professional life. It was clear that Lizzy's debut was hardly the stuff of fairy tales. Obstacles and difficulties were encountered, but she improved her game with every race, gaining wisdom from each botched shift and launch. Those in the racing scene, known for their infamous toughness, started to pay attention. This young lady has natural ability, an iron will, and contagious passion for the game. Not only was she enthusiastic about the game, but she also had enormous shoes to fill, which added another layer of difficulty at the beginning. Fortunately, her hard work did not go unrewarded for long, as she quickly gained fans and established some intriguing records. The world was bracing for Lizzy Musi's meteoric ascension by 2014, and she didn't disappoint. She proved to everyone that she wasn't your average novice or spoiled brat. Rather, she was an absolute monster. The Professional Drag Racers Association is a brutal test of talent and machinery, and Lizzy made her imprint there. During that season, Lizzy was unstoppable. As evidence of her dogged determination to succeed, she won the highly regarded Rookie of the Year award. On that particular day, at the National Pro Nitrous event in the Middle East, Lizzy became the first female competitor to break the 200 miles per hour record in the 8th mile of pro mod racing. There was one constant. This wasn't only an individual triumph, it was a debunking of preconceptions, showing that drag racing was open to women as well. The word of Lizzy's antics quickly spread like wildfire. Her technical skill, including her knowledge of the machine's inner workings, enthralled racing aficionados. She was all the media's attention. Anyone who saw her grin, saw her tenacity, or felt her enthusiasm for the sport could not help but be captivated. One may argue that her participation in the process of creating her own cars may have given her an edge, given that she is associated with a company that deals with racing vehicles. That manner, she had complete control over her racing vehicles, from the design to the final adjustments. Actually, one of them saved her life on more than one occasion, spread to TV personality. In 2015, Lizzy made her big screen debut in the film Adrenaline, which follows a drag racer who gets paralyzed and has a religious conversion, thanks to her rising stardom in the business. This was only the beginning for Lizzy. In 2018, she appeared in yet another television documentary series, Street Outlaws. Although some drag racing purists may look down on reality TV, Lizzy saw it as an opportunity to introduce the sport to a new audience. The program Street Outlaws, which highlighted the intense rivalry and high stakes of underground street racing, became her new habitat. The unpredictability of street racing, with its uneven ground and unexpected obstacles, was adding insult to injury for Lizzy, who was already up against well-calibrated machinery. Since everything else in Lizzy's life began to come to fruition while she was on the program, including the one occurrence that would potentially spell the end of her career, this episode was a turning point in her life. Lizzy, like her father Pat, flourished when it was crunch time. Proving her mettle on the brutal streets, she challenged famed racers like Daddy Dave and Big Daddy Dave. Her magnetic personality and impressive ability to compete with the sport's seasoned veterans enthralled the show's audience, which included both longtime drag racing enthusiasts and those who had never been before. For Lizzy, the run wasn't without its bumps. On the heels of a string of bad luck, Lizzy was hit with some heavy luggage on September 10, 2023. That tragic day She was preparing to race Ryan Martin and Bonnie at the Tucson Dragway for an episode of Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings. On that particular day, Lizzy was going to race Ryan in her beloved 1969 Chevrolet Camaro, which she affectionately referred to as Bonnie. She seemed to have some kind of insight into what was going to happen on the track that day. A video of her expressing her anxiety about the race was subsequently released by the Discovery Channel. On that particular day, she was more concerned about the possibility that her vehicle lacked the necessary components to defeat Ryan in the race than she was for her own safety. After the burnout, Lizzy seemed to lose control of Bonnie a few seconds into the race itself. Thus, it's possible that Bonnie had gained awareness that day and was wounded by Lizzy's uncertainty. After what seemed to be an early victory for Lizzy, Bonnie slammed into one of the barriers in the blink of an eye, halting the race. In a mad dash to save Lizzy's life, concerned parties and medics raced to the site of the accident. In the video, Pat goes completely ballistic, clearly concerned about his daughter's whereabouts. Kai Kelly, with whom she became engaged a year ago, was also there at that incident. Fortunately, Lizzy escaped the accident with very minor injuries, thanks in large part to the safety features included in the vehicle. That following day, she was evaluated and released from the hospital. Later in December of that year, Lizzy received the most devastating news of her life. As if that weren't enough difficulty for that year, the disease had progressed to lymph node stage 4 when she received her diagnosis in December. Lizzy has been quite forthcoming about her experience with therapy and the disease's progression since her diagnosis, and from what we can tell, she may have disregarded some early warning signals. An optimistic idealist who had previously spared no effort in her pursuit of greatness is now confronted with what may seem to be her last hurdle. Nonetheless, she persisted. It has been incredible despite this enormous setback. But before all these bad things happened to Lizzy, her life had some incredibly wonderful times, like when she fell in love with Kai Kelly. Surprisingly, Lizzy's life wasn't all about competing. She not only found love in the fast lane, but she also dominated the track. She became interested in fellow drag racer Kai Kelly, and their bond went beyond a simple love of speed. They were both very competitive, but they also knew one another's struggles and successes. It was supposedly in Lizzy's father's garage that they first met. Pat had first introduced the two of them there. Another chapter in their life was opened that day when a spark flared between the two. The track was the perfect setting for their blossoming romance. Rather than seeing each other as competitive opponents, they acted more like teammates, working together to achieve common goals and sharing in each other's triumphs. They shocked the drag racing community in 2017 by going public with their courtship. There were two up-and-coming stars who were causing quite a stir, breaking records and winning over fans' hearts. The two were engaged in 2021 in what many would call a rather unconventional manner. Lizzy had a near-death encounter on the rails that day, and the proposal followed right after. Everything happened at the tail end of July 2021. Lizzy was about to compete in her third-ever race at Darlington Dragway in South Carolina when she tragically lost control of the car and crashed. She had ridden with Bonnie 3 times before that catastrophe. It was the very same car that almost killed Lizzy the year after that, so it's reasonable to wonder whether there was anything the team was missing with it. Perhaps the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro was still a new experience for her. Lizzy violently struck the guardrail, battering her own body and that of her prized race car, sending her to the hospital for a routine evaluation, according to Dragzine's report. However, that day included other events as well. Thankfully, things were about to improve dramatically for the Queen on the rails. She came back to Darlington to cheer on her boyfriend Kai Kelly, who was competing in the race as well. Kai had other intentions, which Lizzy was unaware of at the time. She added in her statement of the day's events, "Towards the end of the night, Kai surprised me with the question. My emotions were all over the place. My emotions were running high and my excitement was palpable. Yes, was my response to him. My best buddy is someone I intend to wed. He more than compensated for the day I had. Back then, fans were ecstatic for the couple and wanted nothing more than for them to be together for the long haul and accomplish amazing things. However, in most cases, things do not turn out the way one expects. Details were sketchy, but it seemed like they really hit it off in 2023, just after Lizzy's cancer diagnosis. During that difficult period of her life, Lizzy accused Kai of abandoning her after only 2 chemotherapy sessions, claiming he had failed to provide the necessary support. There was a general consensus that Lizzy may be facing many challenges simultaneously due to that development. Lizzy had documented her ordeal on her several handles, including the time she had to have a full buzz cut since chemotherapy was causing her hair to fall out. So, they couldn't have been more mistaken. The public record shows that Kai claimed Lizzy was not being completely fair to him throughout their relationship. No one has ever been able to put their finger on exactly what Lizzy did to treat Kai unfairly. Many fans have already voiced their desire for the couple to step away from social media and attempt to resolve their differences in private. Despite all that has happened to her, Lizzy has shown herself to be like the albatross that rises from the ashes. The fact that she is fighting cancer has not brought her down. After hearing that her tumor may be shrinking, suggesting that she may be responding to therapy, she returned to star in the further episodes of Outlaws, which were filmed later that year. We don't yet have a clear picture of the situation between Lizzy and Kai, but we will certainly keep you posted as soon as we hear anything new. Putting aside the tragic circumstances that may have befallen Lizzy in the last few years, the woman has been an inspiration to many, particularly women who may have felt they didn't belong in her industry. Lizzy was able to achieve great things because she had well-defined objectives and a solid support system. Without a doubt, Lizzy Musi will not be hesitant to pioneer new paths. With her crew at Musi Racing Engines, she is always challenging the status quo and coming up with new ideas. Her commitment to R&D has the potential to provide revolutionary improvements in drag racing in the future. However, Lizzy's impact will extend well beyond her racing career, and not just in terms of hardware. The story will revolve on the motivation she ignited, the obstacles she conquered, and the global message she sent. Do you believe that, considering Lizzy's present state, we could see less of her on the show? Leave a comment with your thoughts and stay connected for more thought-provoking films.